Over the course of the past month, I've talked about 15 manga that I found to be strange, but like I always say, they weren't necessarily all bad. And if anything, that kinda gave me inspiration to make this video in which I talk about some of the strange manga that I come across that I happen to enjoy quite a lot. Just because a manga may have a strange title or strange premise does not inherently mean it's bad, and that can be said about all the manga I'm going to be talking about today. So on that note, hey you guys, it's Ash, and today I'll be talking about 5 strange manga series that I happen to enjoy quite a lot. First off, I want to talk about Hikaru ga Shinda Natsu by Moku Moku Ren. If I'm being honest, I think I could do a video on just this manga alone, but I don't want to spoil too much. The description for this one reads, "So, Hikaru is no more. If that's true, then..." Yoshiki and Hikaru are 2 boys who live in a certain village. They're the same age and have always been together growing up. But one day, Yoshiki noticed that something else has taken Hikaru's place. Even after learning of this, Yoshiki still wants them to be together. And so, his life with the something that looks like his friend begins. At the same time, strange incidents keep occurring in the village. I joked about this manga in the last video when I talked about a tragic boys love manga that wasn't Jujutsu Kaisen, but in all honesty, this is genuinely one of my favorite ongoing manga right now. The art style is beautiful and reminds me a lot of Tatsuki Fujimoto's, who you may know for Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch. The character writing is absolutely top notch. All these characters act and behave and react like actual human beings would, and it's a genuine joy to see. It may seem like the bar is low, but if I'm being honest, when you've read so many manga where it felt like the mangaka has never talked with a human being in their life, you kinda notice when a manga is well written when it comes to character interaction. The horror element of the manga is my favorite aspect. It reminds me a lot of Higurashi or the Korean film The Wailing. One of my favorite subgenres of horror is basically horror that takes place in a small town or village where everything is, fine, but something is not quite right, and it's hard to pinpoint that. I mentioned Higurashi and The Wailing, but another example that comes to mind is Summertime Rendering, which got a fantastic anime adaptation last year. There's something so unsettling about you have a town, everyone knows each other and everything's okay, but there's something going on that just irks you. It makes you feel uncomfortable, like you don't feel like you're at home despite the fact that you're home. It's hard for me to word, completely how I feel, but I just adore it. I adore when manga or media just has this form of horror. The body horror when it comes to Hikaru is fantastic. It's not gory, but it's really gnarly, dude. It's so gnarly. It's beautiful, if I'm being honest. The way like this, whatever it is drawn, it's beautiful. I love it. I love how Yoshiki is conflicted because of the fact that this is technically his friend in terms of personality, memories, etc., but it's not Hikaru. Hikaru died, and we don't know what this thing is. I won't be spoiling everything that happens in the manga as it's still ongoing, and I also want you guys to give it a read, but there are horror elements outside of Hikaru, and they are also really, really cool. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Scanlator group for their wonderful job they've been doing with this manga. From the redraws, to the onomatopoeia, to just keeping the Kansai dialect, everything is perfect and I cannot stress how great of a job these guys did. The manga is getting an official release in the West this year, I believe, so I highly recommend you guys pick this one up. It will not disappoint you. It's a beautiful and tragic boys love manga with a white-haired character and a black-haired character, and there's cursed demons involved. It's absolutely wonderful. And aside from the main 2, the rest of the cast is also pretty great too. Also, real quick, if you're wondering why all the images have been in Japanese, the Scanlator group mentioned that they almost got sued after readers shared their scanlation screenshots to social media, so I don't want them getting in trouble, so I just took screenshots of the official RAWs. Hope that's okay. You can find the English release online. Google has a dex of manga that you can check out. On a lighter note, here is Kimi to Piko Piko by Yuzu Chiri. Ota, an otaku, joined the game club to live his ideal high school life. That was when he met by chance the freshman gal, Ageha Onesaki. They dive straight into playing video games, but Ageha's choices are the NES, the Super NES, and the Mega Drive. Who the heck is this person? Playing a wide range from famous retro games, the gal and the otaku start their heart-throbbing life. So you may be wondering, hey, what's so strange about this? Nothing, I just want to talk about this one. I really enjoy Gyaru manga, and also this one has a lot of very cute gaming references, so I like it a lot. I love this bit here where they recreate the Puyo Puyo art style. Look at that, that's so adorable. I grew up on angry video game nerd, so I always had a fascination and appreciation for game consoles that were way before my time. So seeing this cute manga where they play not only retro but modern games and it stars a cute Gyaru, I'm like, oh cool, awesome. Oh hey look, it's in Portuguese. There's a cute chapter where he introduces a Switch and they play Animal Crossing together and it's so cute. Look at how the artist drew everyone. I don't know, it doesn't take too much to make me happy, and seeing this, it makes me happy. Look at them. They go on a little date to a park while playing Game Boys and they have a little Game Boy link cable. I'm like, hey, I know what that is. It also goes for some deep cuts like, hey, you got a chapter dedicated to Clock Tower, which is something that like people like Nitro Rad cover. A funny thing to note is that after a while, the scan later group behind this manga just seemed to drop it, and another group called Scanned Out of Spite decided to pick it up, and as the name implies, they picked up this manga out of spite of it being dropped. This manga contains my two favorite things, Gyarus and video games. I get you, bro, I get you, don't even trip. I'm not a fan of this font, but I commend it nonetheless. Alright, that's a photo of the translator's feet, okay. But all in all, it's a really cute rom-com, and again, if you're into Gyaru and you're into video games, then definitely give this one a shot. It's really adorable. I love the art style. You got fan service, but it's to be expected with the territory, unfortunately. One last funny thing to note is that when I first picked up the manga, the girl looked a lot like Rem from ReZero, but in recent iterations, her hair is a lot more lighter, so I guess they're trying to differentiate her from Rem, and they also completely changed her eye color, I guess. Next up, we got Tsuyoshi by Maruyama Kyosuke. A super powerful guy keeps defeating everyone around him, even though he doesn't like fighting. This is one I picked up because I thought the cover art looked kind of funny and the description seemed unique, and I caught up in all that was available and I really enjoyed this one. The manga stars Hoshizaki Ainosuke, who is one of the strongest martial artists in the entire world, who ends up getting his ass handed to him by a convenience store clerk. And it's not just him. Literal hundreds of people go after this clerk in order to fight him, only to get completely destroyed in a couple of minutes. The fighting style is based off of Chinese martial arts, which I'm not familiar with, but it looks really cool, and the way it's presented seems to have a lot of love put into it. I like their faces, look at them. The art style reminds me a lot of Murata, who did Ice Shield 21 and who you may know as the One Punch Man redrawer. Which kinda makes sense because this manga reminds me of One Punch Man if it was told from the perspective of Genos. There's a lot of great panels in this one. I really like the choreography in the fights. It's not as visceral as say Sakamoto Days, but it's still great in its own right. The scan leader is named Aizen Sensei, so he kinda jokes around with that at the end of each chapter. So it seems like a gag manga. Okay, you have a guy that looks weak who is really strong, and you have a guy that looks strong who wants to be stronger. Okay, what's the appeal? Well, you see, the thing that won me over was finding out that Tsuyoshi, the title character and the convenience store clerk, really wants to be an artist. And Ainosuke, the guy training under him, happens to be a really good artist for some reason. So Tsuyoshi ends up taking Ainosuke as an apprentice if it means that he can be better at art, and Ainosuke is willing to teach Tsuyoshi if it means that it makes him closer to becoming the world's strongest martial artist. That revelation made me go, okay, I gotta keep reading, this is actually great. And I love how Ainosuke gives him genuine advice as to how to be a better artist. Like, sure, Ainosuke does have his ulterior motives of wanting to be a stronger martial artist, but it's still really great to see him in a teaching role and going, oh no, what I'm doing is pretty easy. But he explains it pretty well to Tsuyoshi. This is not trying to be the next Blue Period or anything like that, but I still love it a lot, and I thought it was really charming from the limited amount of chapters that are available. It seems to have been picked up by a new group, so hopefully we get new chapters soon. I really hope so, because this was really fun to read through. There's some stuff involving Miss Ching, who is Tsuyoshi's co-worker, which I won't spoil, but it's pretty funny, I like it a lot. The manga has a great sense of humor while also knowing when to play it straight, and that's a really hard balance for manga to find nowadays, but I think it pulls it off pretty well here. All in all, I say keep an eye on this one. It's definitely going to be a lot better once more and more chapters have been translated. And from one glasses manga to another, we have Meshi Numa by Amida Muku. Ianuma, a somewhat dull salaryman, eats food as his craving drives him. This is an appetite-stimulating gourmet manga where you can just watch him eating his food. That description does not lie. My man really do be eating. It is such a beautiful manga about a businessman who's tired and fed up with work, eating the most beautiful and deliciously drawn food you've ever seen. People always on Twitter posting about how food in Ghibli movie looks so good, but bro, you ain't see the food in this manga. Bro, these bowls of katsudon are as steamy as the armpits of that one weirdo manga I talked about the other week. And not only that, but the translator adds food facts, bro. They add images and descriptions of the food that they're eating. This is peak. Every single chapter just has my boy going out and eating whatever the hell he wants, and I eat it up every time. And it's not just me, the characters in the manga, they look at him eat and they're like, wow, this dude really do be eating. The art style is just comfy. That's really the best way I can describe it. Like, it's clean, but it also utilizes cross-hatching. It's sketchy when it needs to be. It's not like over-detailed or anything like that. They draw my man's teeth a little too good, but you know what? That's fine. You know, I respect it. I love how everyone seems to fall for him when they watch him eat. Like, bro, I wish that was true. In real life, whenever I eat, I don't want anyone looking at me ever. This manga is a slice of life, but more specifically, it is a yashike, which means healing type. Really, the best way I could describe a yashike is that just reading is just nice. The experience of reading the manga just makes you feel like, yeah, ooh, this is awesome. Comfy and cozy are like words that are typically used to describe it, and that's really the best way to describe it, if I'm being honest. You got stuff like Azumanga Daioh, Flying Witch, Girl's Last Tour, even though that one's a little depressing, Mushishi, so on and so forth. And I definitely consider Meshinuma to be Yashike because my god, watching this dude eat can cure all my sorrows. It's a wonderful little manga. The main dude is admittedly pretty hot. I really like this one a lot, and if you enjoy food and good manga, then read Dungeon Meshi and also this one. Last but certainly not least, we have Dako Suru Made Oshimasen by Yoshiragi. An ecchi ero mangaka, Yoe, and an NTR ero mangaka, Mayama, are close neighbors. However, their taste and age gap are vastly different. A rom-com story of understanding each other begins. Quick disclaimer, the age gap is 32 and 22, which is 10 years, which isn't really that bad. I mean, my parents are like that too, so I mean, whatever. So, if you're not too familiar with manga, you may be asking yourself, what's an ero mangaka? And ero is like erotica, or like eroge, so that makes sense. But what exactly is NTR? So you see, NTR is the initials for NT Ramarao Jr., who was known in the hit film RRR, which came out last year, which I highly recommend, and it's also the other word for Japanese cuckoldry. So NTR is basically you have a guy and girl who are dating, then the girl gets caught up with some other guy, and she's like, wow, I love you so much more than my boyfriend, and then the boyfriend's like, oh man, oh geez, I'm kind of getting off to this, and you're reading this, and you're like, eh. But in the case of this manga, there is no NTR aside from the manga produced by the gal. In a sense, it kind of reminds me of That's My Atypical Girl, where the main character is a manga artist who draws very not good stuff, but he's pretty normal in the manga despite the content he makes. Which I know can be applied to a lot of creators where, you know, just because someone enjoys drawing people with no arms and legs doesn't mean, like, they're into that IRL. But yeah, you have the male mangaka who is older and wiser and a lot more naive when it comes to relationships, and you have his kohai who is really cute, and the both of them get into cute little shenanigans together. He's always punctual, delivering his manuscripts on time, making sure his work is at its best, whereas she always does everything at the last minute and failing to reach her deadlines. She's cute, which is one thing, but damn, he is really pretty. Look at him. The male mangaka's editor is pretty vulgar, which is pretty funny to watch, especially because he is not like that at all. The gal got really big eyebrows. I mean, look at them, they're bushy, and I love her eyes, look at them. She eats Haagen-Dazs, and she acts like a cat. Is this Kara no Kyokai? So what exactly makes this manga so special? Honestly, I mean, I just like it. It's cute. It's two consenting adults who are not really co-workers, but they work in a similar space and field, and they just help each other out. It's generic, fluffy rom-com stuff, but I'm a sucker and I eat it up, and I guess I put it here because the idea of an NTR mangaka not being into that is so bizarre and foreign, I know. It's not, I know it's not, but it's just something that I want to talk about. I guess it's also due to the fact that just because someone produces manga that has certain content doesn't mean that they stand by or even into said content. It seems like such an obvious thing to state, but so many people have this belief that when a manga creator creates their series, they agree with every single thing that goes on in it, which is not always true, yeah? It's always good to look at things from a different perspective as it can help you gain new information and even enlightenment from things that you thought you knew a lot about. And I guess that could be implied to the manga that I talked about today, where they're not always as they seem. All in all, this one's really cute, it's fluffy, I like it, the art style is awesome, I love how the main girl's eyes are drawn, like unironically, I love these sort of eyes. It's great, give this one a read. But I think that will wrap it up for this week's video on strange manga that I happen to like. Truth be told, these manga really weren't all that strange, but I wanted an excuse to talk about them and hopefully give you guys an opportunity to look into them if you're interested. There is another strange manga that I really enjoy that I think deserves its own video, so keep an eye out for that one. But as always, thank you guys for watching, hitting that like button, blah blah blah, all that garbage. If you got any recommendations, feel free to let me know, and I'll catch you next time. You guys take it easy.